Good morning, Earthlings. How you doing today? Welcome to First Contact Radio. Glad you could make it. Let's jump into our cosmic weather, see what we have to deal with today. Okay, our solar wind at the moment, 275.4 kilometers per second. Planetary K index, 0, with a 24-hour maximum of 1 at the moment. Here's our coronal hole, which is sending wind down to our planet over the next couple of days, around the 26th, 27th. We see the holes being covered up. You still see the bottom of where that triangle shape is. Alright. Our chance for M-class flares are only at a 10% chance, and geomagnetic storm activity we could see is pretty low. If you're in the high latitudes, you got a chance of seeing some sort of activity, so have a camera ready. Perhaps you'll catch some really cool images. Alright, and then here we have this notice of an eruption yesterday. 2 long filaments of solar magnetism erupted yesterday, the 23rd, hurling bright coronal mass ejections into space. This one passed right in front of Mercury. Alright, so that's our space weather. Now we go over to our astrology for today. Right here. Right here. So, conscious mind, air. Unconscious, water. As a matter of fact, Cancer. So, right now it's wet. A lot of rain going on out here in Southern California, so definitely is a Cancerian effect. But what we have with Cancer, Cancer is a water sign. In the tarot cards, it's the card of the Chariot, which is a being that is covered with armor in an armored vehicle. And the whole idea is that the armor protects the being from the emotions of the world, because emotions are very powerful. And as we all know, that an emotion can drop us to our knees or can send us to the height of our joy and everything in between. So lots to deal with emotions. That's what's on the unconscious mind today. And you've got air on the conscious mind of Aquarius. So what you have is air and water. So just think about how air and water work in your life. Okay, how they mix together at all. You can have the air blowing gently upon the water. You can have the air blowing really hard, and the water then becomes hurricane-like. So a lot of different opportunities. You can have situations where the water becomes so great that it encompasses parts of the air. So we see all different ways we mix these elements, but remember, air is communications, words, actions, whereas emotions are feelings, things of this nature. So today might be a day where feelings and emotions are being processed up from the unconscious, and the conscious mind is looking for a way to be able to communicate those, to express those. That's what the air is about. And of course, the balancing lesson with Aquarius, and Aquarius in the tarot cards is represented by the card of the star. Aquarius, it teaches us the lessons of balance, one foot on the conscious and unconscious. So very important to understand there's balance in everything. Moving from there to our moon phase, we're just about at that full moon, 94% of the way there. It's a nice full moon for the weekend. On the Mayan Oracle, we're at a 7-tone day, the 7th position along the wave spell of Vision or Eagle. The kin for today is right here, the dragon, and the guide is the Skywalker. So today is the resident dragon guided by the Skywalker. The phrase is, I channel in order to nurture inspiring being. I seal the input of birth with the resonant tone of attunement. I am guided by the power of space. I'm a galactic activation portal. So let's look at that. See where we're at. We're right here. So we're at the last column, top row. So because there's an intersecting between the column and the row, that is why this is a galactic activation portal day. Okay. And there you have it. That's our On the Gregorian calendar, it's the 24th of January 2013. So, there you have it. Moving right along. Last 2 days, played part 1, part 2 of the interview with Dolores Cannon, or an interview she did in 2010. I'm going to play part 3 today. Lots of great information. I hope you are enjoying what she is presenting. And let's get into the next part. Here we go.
Variances in how this occurs, but let's talk about what this portrait of consciousness is showing as to how this earth evolves and what happens to the one that is plagued with catastrophe and so forth.
Well, I've gotten a lot of information about it. I put it in convoluted 2 and convoluted 3, and I'm still getting information. I'm getting bits and pieces that I didn't know about before, because I've gotten so much information, but I keep asking more and more questions. And they said, we can't answer all your questions because we don't know what's going to happen. This has never happened before in the history of a universe, that an entire planet will shift into another dimension. So we don't know what's going to happen. And it's the greatest show on Earth, that all the ETs, the other beings, are out there watching to see, are we going to be able to pull it off?
And let's talk about what it is, what we're headed for.
Okay, but down through Earth's history, we've had many, many civilizations that have come and gone. We have reached the peak of what they could do. And then it was usually because of man's greed and power, they had to be destroyed and they were brought down again. And every time, the civilizations had to begin over from the very primitive stage, the very bottom. And it took so much time to build it up again. This time, they said they don't want to take the time to do that. We're losing too much. And the Earth is a living being. It is going to go into its next incarnation. It is evolving. It's going to go whether we go or not. It doesn't care if it takes the human race with it, because we're like fleas on a dog.
Right.
And it would just as soon we all disappeared. So that's why it's going to do its thing. But if we want to go with it, we're going to have to evolve also. But because it is moving, it is evolving, and the frequencies and vibrations are changing as it moves into this other dimension. And there will be, this is where the variances come in. I get some, the answers are different, that there will be essentially 2 Earths.
Yes.
And one is the old Earth. And some people say, is that a physical Earth or not? I don't know, but it's a division and a shifting of the energies as it goes into another dimension. But the old Earth will still exist with all its negativity. This is where all the catastrophes will be, the wars, all of those things, because they say those people will stay with what they have created. And they have created that type of world. And in order for you to go with the Earth, you have to change your vibrations and frequencies to shift also. But you can't change your vibrations and frequencies instantly. It would destroy the human body. So the ones that are heavy into negativity, they can't shift that fast. So by the time they catch up, they won't be able to. Their vibrations and frequencies are so low, they will stay with the old Earth. But they said that doesn't matter. They'll get there eventually anyway.
This is exactly what was given to me back in the mid-'80s, and since then has been reinforced that part of it will also happen through attrition. As people die out that are still working on certain lessons, they'll be incarnating into the one Earth, and those who have advanced themselves in their frequencies will be incarnating then to the other Earth as well, to the other one. However, this whole thing about living through the process is really the interesting part.
Those whose frequencies can't change at all will simply leave the planet. They will transition because they can't adjust to it.
Yes.
Now, it is shifting and moving, and now time is speeding up. I found all of this began about 2003. That's when it began to be obvious, as with the shifting was occurring. And a lot of people don't really know what's going on. All they know is something is happening, and they're feeling different about it. But As it shifts, your body has to adjust with it because your frequencies and vibrations have to match the Earth's as it moves.
Absolutely.
The other ones that are into negativity will stay where they are. But if you want to move with the old Earth, you're going to have to change your vibration and frequencies. And there are a lot of physical things happening right now that people are noticing. And a lot of them go to the doctors and they say there's nothing wrong with them. This is because, as I said, you can't change your frequency instantly. It would destroy the body. It has to be done gradually. So you may notice these symptoms for a few days, and then it will go away for a month or so, and then you'll notice them again, and there will just be on and off symptoms.
What are some of the most common symptoms?
That's what I was going to
tell you.
Okay.
All right.
Because this is the body adjusting to the frequency. Some of the most common symptoms are high blood pressure, heart palpitations, dizziness, depression, body aches and pains, especially in the joints, nausea, headaches. But the depression and the dizziness is one that people talk a lot about, and also the heart palpitations and the high blood pressure. And they go to the doctor can't find anything wrong. Of course, they're going to put them on pills anyway.
Oh, yeah. You're on Lipitor right off the bat, right.
Oh, all of it.
All of it.
And they said it doesn't do any good because it's gone in a few days. And they say if you know what's happening, you can write it out. But the older people are the ones that are going to have the hardest time because their body has a lot harder time adjusting to all of these frequencies. The children, you don't worry about them. They're coming in with all of the frequencies already in place. They're already adjusted. It's the ones in the middle, the second and third waves, are the ones that are going to notice this the most.
And this requires, it requires dietary change in a lot of cases.
I was going to get to that, too.
Yeah. Okay. Let's talk about it.
Well,
when you're ready.
But you can see the physical symptoms would be disturbing.
Yes.
And the doctors don't know what it is. If you understand it, you can write it out a lot easier. And I always ask in my lectures, does anyone notice their diets are changing? And they usually say they do. In order to move, for your body to evolve, to go with this, you have to change your diet. You can't eat heavy foods. The body has to become lighter so that it can transcend. Heavy foods will hold it to the earth and hold it down. So they said especially stay away from heavy meats. The best foods to eat are live foods. These mean fresh fruits and vegetables. That's the best food. If you can get organic, that's the best of all. You can eat some chicken and meat and fish, but not the heavy beefs and porks. None of that. And they said to stay away from sugar as much as possible and drink lots and lots of water. The value of water is unbelievable. They said we have no concept of what the value of water is for the body. And after you do this a while, you'll find you won't even want the sweets anymore. You will gradually have just evolved away from that.
That's true when you're properly hydrated, which most of us are chronically dehydrated.
Yes.
And so you don't know what it feels like till you force yourself to go on a discipline.
You go off of Pepsi and Coke.
Yeah, you had to go through that.
Oh, I went through that because for years that was all I did.
Yes.
And they made me get off of
right,
it all.
I remember that.
And now I don't want anything really sweet at all because it does turn you off of that. But that's what your diets will change. And they said eventually you're going to see yourself going into all the liquids. And when I've been on the air and mentioned that, people will call in and say, I wondered why I've been wanting to eat more smoothies.
Yes. I feel the same way, yes. I could be perfectly happy just drinking my meals, except for the
because that's where we're moving into that part.
Yes, and our digestive systems are going to be changing in the
future,
too.
They're changing now.
Yes, very interesting. As there's something in here that I was going to ask you about a moment ago. The other thing which we're about to get into is the whole notion of what we have to do on an emotional, psycho-spiritual level as well. Now, we've just talked about what we have to do for the body, but about the emotions that we perpetuate that keep creating the karma for ourselves, which anger, frustration, resentment against others, and so forth, but also fear. And I want to get into that, but I want to ask you something. I don't know if you're comfortable going there or not.
But those are two things that I've always been told to cover in my lectures, so you've touched on them anyway.
We're going to definitely go into them. And the precursor to the fear is as we're trying to get through life, we're stumbling into every day these subliminal and not so subliminal messages, media of every kind, blaring out, creating false impressions of danger and negativity. Do your beings that work with you and share information, and perhaps some of those that have also been regressed, talk about another force that is trying to keep humanity asleep? Or do your beings say we're just doing it?
This is the UFO News with Joshua Poet.
All right, Dirk, thank you very much. This is the UFO News for today. I have 5 stories. Story number 1, let's get to it. This comes to us from Ontario. A man in Oshawa, Ontario claims to have witnessed an unidentified flying object in the sky when he was at his workplace in Scarborough on the 16th of January around 10:18 in the morning. Paul was able to grab his camera and took some shots of the strange object, which slightly resembles the one taken at the CN Tower in June. He also experienced another UFO sighting around 12:15 p.m. at the parking lot of his workplace. The object was moving slowly in the northern part of the sky. It was visible to Paul for less than a minute, the reason he did not snap a shot of it. All right, there's our object in question there. All right, let's click away from there. Go to the next one. This is Colorado witness unsure of multiple blue light beam source. It says here that the Colorado witness at LaSalle reported 3 blue lights hovering about 200 feet away and about 60 feet high that shone into the kitchen area, according to the January 23rd testimony from the MUFON database. The witness was standing in the home kitchen area about 1 a.m. on the 17th of January when the room became bathed in bright blue light. I grabbed my pan off the stove so that it did not burn and stood looking at 3 bright blue lights hovering about 200 feet away and 60 feet high, the witness stated. We have bay windows in the kitchen, and it was coming through the westernmost window. It was there about 15 seconds or so, and then it just vanished. Witness went out to investigate the following day, inspected the ground where the thing would have been. Since there was snow all around, it would be easy to see. There was no sign of anything being there, no car, truck, or anything else. I say no truck tracks because I thought it might be hunters in the land without permission. The lights were so blue I didn't think it would be hunters, but I checked anyway. Okay, it's over in Colorado. Moving from there to our next sighting. This is a NASA sighting, and the next 2 stories deal with that one. Pretty good image right here. It says this triangle-shaped UFO is interesting and important because it is actually captured in 2 photos. The UFO is in more traditional shape. Given its size relative to Earth, it is possible that this triangle-shaped UFO is responsible for sightings such as the Phoenix Lights. STS-61C was the 24th mission of NASA's Space Shuttle program and the 7th mission of the Space Shuttle Columbia. It was the first time that Columbia, the first operational orbiter to be constructed, had flown since STS-9. The mission launched from Florida's Kennedy Space Center on the 12th of January 1986 and landed 6 days later on the 18th of January. Alright, so there's the object. Let me go to the next one here because this is a video. It talks about it a little bit more. Let me play this for you.
This is Dabu 7, January 23rd, 2013. Okay guys, what we have here is photos from the ISS, International Space Station. This is from NASA's site, last updated 23rd. I'll leave a link. What you do when you go to these photos is you play with the very last digit of the numbers in the link, and you can switch to different photos. But 2 photos have this huge triangle-shaped UFO above Earth. The last picture was 31-2. This is 31-3.
Okay, that's very very distinct shape that we've seen. We've certainly seen the triangle before, and to see one though captured by the ISS is pretty cool. All right, one last bit of UFO news for today. We have the full trailer for Dr. Greer's documentary SIRIUS. So I wanted to play this for you. Here we go.
Primary purpose is to train people to understand these other civilizations.
100 yards from the left wing was this 100-foot disc.
I don't give a goddamn what anybody else says about it. I saw that.
Who do you tell without the book at you like you ain't wrapped too tight?
And I was a part of a United States Air Force cover-up for 18 years.
The problem is not proving that UFOs exist. It's when you begin to expose the energy and propulsion systems behind how they're getting here.
And this is the most important thing going on this planet today, and yet nobody talks about it.
In the councils of government, we must guard against the acquisition of unwarranted influence, whether sought or unsought, by the military-industrial complex.
The adversary is closer to home. The Pentagon bureaucracy. You know, hundreds of billions of dollars. I think the public would be a little annoyed.
People are afraid of looking at technology.
Paul Brown stuff got basically suppressed for murder. We briefed them for 10 hours. They ran scared.
Here we sit, 2012, with the world still burning oil and gas and coal. We have had all the information we need to have had a completely new civilization.
What we are attempting to achieve is a device which defeats the perpendicular force of gravity.
When we look at our data, we lost 7% weight.
And you're beginning to see countries all over the world begin to come forward.
This possible EVE was found in the Atacama Desert. We took material from inside the cranium of this little being.
There is something occurring. And were it any other scientific phenomenon, the scientific community would be all over it.
There have been over 5,000 patents that have been sequestered.
But we are opposed around the world by a monolithic and ruthless conspiracy that relies primarily on public means.
What we have to do is pave the way for these leaders. Because if the people will lead, the leaders will follow. And it isn't about overthrowing the Pentagon, it's about leaving it behind. This is the destiny of humanity.
All right, very good. So, if you recall, remember the shooting that took place in the Sikh temple, was it Wisconsin? And it just so happened that the man who was shot there, one of the men, was the father of the gentleman who was working with Dr. Greer on this, the director, producer. So, very interesting and strange connection. Anyway, we'll keep our eye on the full movie when it is available. That's our UFO news for today. I'll be right back.
What if our government was responsible for some of the greatest crimes against this nation? Would you really want to know? These are big questions, but these questions deserve answers. It's time to demand the truth.
People shouldn't be afraid of their governments. Governments should be afraid.
All right, continuing on. So, I'm going to have a guest coming up in just a few moments. I got a couple stories before we get to that. So let's jump to the first one here. All right, we hear the stories about FEMA. We've heard about the FEMA camps. We hear about those who are still suffering the effects of the Sandy storm that hit out on the East Coast. We've heard the other horror stories of FEMA We've heard of FEMA's participation in drills that are taking place prior to events happen. A lot of strangeness surrounding FEMA. We've heard Dr. Paul talk about FEMA needing to be disbanded and how it's just worthless. So here's the question. This comes to us from Pack Alert Press. Is FEMA a threat to the American public? By George Spelvin of the Western Center for Journalism. A nationwide flu outbreak could be a significant excuse to call up the National Guard Rapid Response Parallel Support Module to take control of a national emergency with possible declaration of martial law protocols. According to a North Carolina police lieutenant, in some 3 to 6 months, declarations of martial law could be made throughout the nation. In a 2-part radio broadcast aired by a Virginia pastor, Lieutenant McCoy has attracted the attention of more than 20,000 listeners. We're in huge trouble, he says, as he calls up memories of white granite gravestones all over Europe, gravestones marking the final resting place of veterans who died for us during World War II. Tragically, many of our veterans are now referred to as potential domestic terrorists by President Obama's Department of Homeland Security. Men who fought in Iraq and Afghanistan have been declared risks should they choose to purchase a firearm for private use. A devout Christian, 31-year-old lawman tells listeners, "I cry when guns are gone. You won't be able to worship the Creator. Gone. Freedom's gone." When Katrina made its way through New Orleans, leaving portions of the city in ruins, George Bush praised FEMA Director Michael Brown, saying, "Brownie, you're doing a heck of a job." It was an incredible statement given the display of incompetence not only by FEMA but by federal agencies throughout the bureaucracy. Residents of New York City can attest to the fact that things have not improved, given that providing water to victims of Sandy was too complicated a task for the Federal Relief Agency days after the hurricanes have passed through the area. Perhaps it's time to ask the true purpose of FEMA and other federal agencies. When the necessity arises, National Guard units under martial law paradigms will be rolled out for the control of widespread domestic unrest. A 2009 report discusses something called the Stability Police Force, resembling a hybrid military law enforcement entity created under the guise of controlling domestic riots. Use of National Guard units become familiar to residents of New Orleans during the Katrina episode, so many citizens may initially not consider it unusual to see Guard members serving along with FEMA in these 10 regions. And the 10 regions they're talking about are certainly the 10 FEMA regions. If you recall, here it talks about the National Defense Resources Preparedness Act, which gives basically Obama control over all of our resources, and so on. So FEMA may not be exactly what they say. People have a lot more complaints about FEMA. It's kind of like the TSA. You know, they're not out there abusing people like the TSA in those ways, but their behavior is somewhat suspect and kind of weird. Okay, so now let's turn our attention here to the idea of blind loyalty. Blind loyalty. What is blind loyalty? It is when someone believes in someone or something without really knowing anything about them. We hear this a lot of times now with the supporters of Obama. But we're not going to pile on Obama or his supporters because this is not something that is just started with Obama. This was like this with George Bush, and it still continues with those who still believe that George Bush and Dick Cheney could do no wrong, despite the fact that there is tons of information showing that they're war criminals and implicit in activities against America as traitors and so on and so forth. And it's gone on like that. So blind support for leaders is pretty normal. Americans do it. People around the world do it in their countries. And it seems silly. Now, why would somebody give up their power to somebody without really knowing about them? I don't know. But it happens all the time. This video here, I'm going to play a portion of it. It's just short of 12 minutes. It's from We Are Change, and this is out at the inauguration, which just took place. And Luke Rudowski is out there, and he's asking, and he has a challenge for people. And the challenge is that he will give $100 to anybody of the Obama supporters, he's there, he will give them $100 if they could answer 3 of 5 questions correctly about Obama and his policies. I'm going to play a portion of this. Check this out. Here we go.
This is Sarah Adamson reporting for We Are Change, and we are here in Washington, D.C. for Barack Obama's second inauguration. And I'm willing to bet $100 of my own money that no one here knows the man they're here supporting.
Who wants to play the Obama game show? Get 3 questions right about Barack Obama out of 5 and win $100. It's free to play. You get 3 questions right. Anybody can play right now and win $100. Come up, sir. Come right up, sir. Now, Gary, simple rules. 5 questions. Get 3 of them right, and you win this $100. I will give you this $100. Right. But you got to get them right. They're all about Barack Obama and his administration.
Okay, first question. Can you name one of Obama's daughters?
Malia.
Okay, great.
Alea.
Very good.
Chelsea. No, that's Clinton.
No.
I don't know.
Okay.
Sasha.
Very good.
Sasha.
Sure, Malia. Very good. That's 1. 1 out of 5. You need 2 more for that $100.
Okay. Second question is, did President Obama repeal or extend the Patriot Act?
Extend.
Yes.
Extend.
Very good.
Extend.
Oh, got 2.
Extended the Patriot Act.
Yeah.
He extended it. Very good. That's 2 out of 5. 1 more. 1 more. And you got it. All right. How do you feel about that, by the way? Do you like domestic surveillance and spying?
Can't really say. He extended the Patriot Act.
Very good. Crap, you got 2 right. You got 2 right. You got 3 more questions. How do you feel about that, by the way? The domestic surveillance, spying on American citizens?
You know, I know we have to spy a little bit, but sometimes it can get carried away.
Yeah, I agree.
It can really get carried away. There's no privacy no more.
Okay. Under Barack Obama's administration, how many American citizens were killed by U.S. drone strikes?
I want to say 2.
Very, very close. 3.
Okay. Come on, you gotta give him that. You gotta give him that.
3 American citizens have been assassinated by our government without the due process of law, without a court date, without a hearing, and they were assassinated by drone strikes. How do you feel about that, by the way?
I can't say.
Really?
Yes.
One of them was 16 years old.
One of them was a 16-year-old American citizen, a teenager from Colorado.
Yeah, I know.
None. Why would he kill American people?
3.
None.
3. 3.
How many?
Anwar al-Awlaki and his 16-year-old son, and there was also Samir Khan. So 3 American citizens.
200.
No, luckily only 3.
None.
3.
Yo, I'm glad I got 2 more questions. How many American citizens? Wait a minute, that's a trick question. American citizens, none.
3.
Okay.
3 people. One of them was Abdurrahim al-Awlaki in Yemen.
I don't care. I don't think they're American citizens. I understand.
He was a 16-year-old teenager from Colorado.
I understand.
You don't care? Really?
No.
16-year-old American citizen without trial or jury, he was just assassinated? I mean, at least he deserves a jury and trial, right? Come on.
Well, if that young man who killed those kids in Connecticut was still alive, I wouldn't give him a trial.
Okay, but this guy didn't do that.
I understand what you're saying. You're right. Yeah, innocent to proven guilty.
Yep.
That is true.
You get 1 more right, you got the $100.
Okay.
How many countries did the Obama administration drone bomb?
Wow.
Afghanistan, got Iraq.
No cheating, no looking over there.
I'm not looking. I want to say About 8.
Very, very close. 6.
Y'all killing me. Y'all killing me. How would you know?
That we have the sources right here.
I know.
Everything we say confirmed. It is public knowledge. It is confirmed. And we have the news sources here. We have Tatiana Moroz here, by the way, who has the sources and news sources here that will provide you the information to show you we were not lying in any way, shape, or form. So we have the sources. Trust me. You could guess, or you could ask the crowd.
I'm gonna go with 3.
3? Sorry, 6.
Oh, dang.
Pakistan.
That's 1.
Afghanistan.
That's 2.
Public Affairs channel in bombed around the globe, watching us on live streaming on the internet. Our phone lines are open. We'd like to hear in these minutes as we continue to look at some of your reactions to the president.
None.
Here's
6.
Oh God, I'm not gonna get them. I'm not gonna get them.
All right, I'm going to leave that there. You can check it out on your own, the rest of it. But this isn't to make fun of these individuals. It's because if they were to go through the crowd, there are probably a lot of supporters like this. Just like when George Bush was in office, there were a lot of supporters that blindly supported him, even though he was doing things illegal, and the president beforehand, the same thing. So we need to really pay attention to the way in which, and the people that we're following, the leaders that we choose to listen to, because they're not guiding us down the wrong path or down the right path. They are guiding us down the wrong path. You know, by their fruits you shall know them. Well, if we just look at what the government's putting out and we just look at the lies, I can't understand why there is anybody in this country who can give any more excuses to the government about the wrongdoings. I hear people all the time trying to make excuses. Oh, well, they do this for this reason, or they do it for that reason. There's no reason anymore. The government is well past and has used up all of their excuses. If this was your child, if the government was your child that gave you as many excuses as the government gives you on why they don't do the right things, you would be grounding your child and you wouldn't tolerate it. But people tolerate this from the government because of fear that if they don't toe the party line, something is going to be taken away from them. And that's not right. Government was not set up for that purpose, for people to be afraid of the government. It should be the other way around. The government should be afraid of the people. Not that the people are going to go and beat the government up, but that the people are going to speak up in such a way that the government's job will be to follow what the people say as opposed to the way it is now. Because right now, the only one the governments are listening to are the money makers, the one who are providing the monies to them, and the media goes out and the same money lenders takes care of the media. They're all bought and paid for. We have to stop following these blind leaders, because as long as we do, there will continue to be false flag events across this country and around the world. Anyway, I'm going to move on from there. I have other things to get to. This here is the 3-minute news. Here we go.
Good morning, folks. I expected some big things from this latest NASA announcement. Now, they only had 345 seconds to capture footage when the rocket reached suborbital max height, but this picture proves just how darn good the cameras were. And the big announcement is these large coronal magnetic loops of charged particles and plasma, which most of you recognize easily, and which are known to be sped to near the speed of light, causing emission of UV radiation and the discharge of X-rays when they violently interact with a solar flare. Yes, those. In their words, are potentially responsible for contributing to the corona being so much warmer than the surface. Forgive me, I must admit I thought that was already part of accepted heliophysics, not to mention common sense. If you are used to the temperature anomaly maps, you're used to seeing red, but Asia's feeling the other half of climate change right now with the temperatures dipping low. Salt Lake City, pollution warning. I'm zoomed way out on the RSOE so you can see the plane crash in Antarctica. Status unknown. It's 3 Canadians stuck on a 13,000-foot ice plateau. First few flyovers saw no signs of the missing. They're alone in the worst place on the planet and their time is running out. Send every positive vibe you got. We are zooming in on the Taal volcano in the Philippines. It was recently rocked by a number of harmonic tremors and the worry is for an eruptive event. The 4-pointer mark is the line for above average on the Northeast Caribbean. California doesn't get one every day either, and the USGS has this 4.4 as a 3.9 in Colorado. This mid 5-pointer in Russia hit 6 on at least 2 of the meters. We have a toxic algae warning for some of the Tasmanian waterways, and there was a mass fish death just north in Victoria. Checking on the cyclones, Peta has puttered herself out pretty much, while Gary still might have some fight left in him. Headed directly for the Cook Islands. Take heed or warn those you know who live there. Tahiti will be missed by the main cell, but the range shearing off to the east will be a factor. Solar wind speed dropping further. This is part of the weakening solar magnetic fields I've discussed for months and over which NASA recently expressed concern. It's part of the reason cosmic ray flux has been higher than average, approaching 101, but still lower than the observed max. Yesterday's main solar eruption flew south, and a few hours later another filament destabilized and ripped away from the sun. Watch closely as you can see the point of separation where most of the plasma curls and lifts north away from the Earth. Together with the filament eruption from yesterday, the blast looked like this from Earth using SOHO. Tough to tell if any of the ejecta is headed this way. Earth off to the right on stereo B. Looks like it's a close call for missing us north. Looking on stereo A with the Earth off to the left and Jupiter in the background just left of the Sun. This too is a very close call. According to spaceweather.com, Earth is not in the line of fire, but NASA's own endless spiral shows it does impact Earth, represented by the little yellow dot. NOAA shows a faint burst on their endless spiral that I need to speed up to see it all. So add a CME potentially to the coronal hole stream that is potentially on its way to Earth. NOAA still labels this active region as Beta Gamma, but my comments from yesterday hold true, and besides, she's headed for the limb today. The northeastern active regions do look small. Without a single C flare, the sun has managed to fire a few big CMEs in the last 48 hours via filament eruption. Let's have eyes on the solar wind speed as well, as she needs a boost. Eyes open. No fear. It's 6:15 a.m. Eastern Time, and that's the news. Be safe, everyone.
All right, very good. So, one of the things that's important to remember is, as was just pointed out, there's a difference sometimes between space weather and NASA on what their statistics are. So, not quite sure why this is, if somebody is, keeping information out, or, it's being edited or what have you, but it's just something to keep in mind, that these agencies aren't all in sync with each other for one reason or another, and we need to, as citizens of the world, we need to keep our eye on these different events and do our own investigations, because the governments, we can see we can't rely upon them. There's plenty of instruments, plenty of opportunities to do this, so the more we take the power and we take charge of our own information and our own understandings of things, the better off we're going to be. Because really, waiting for the government to tell people around the world what's going on, that ain't going to happen. Hasn't happened yet. It's not going to happen. They don't want it to happen. But they'll play a good game to fool you so that you think that they really are in your best interest. So, moving right along. All right, the other day I did an interview with a woman named Cindy Bentley, and she's an energy practitioner. She is an author, and she works with people to helping to clear negative energy. Everything's in the interview here. Let me just get to it, and I'm going to stop rambling so you can hear what she has to say. Here we go. All right, this is Josh Poe of First Contact Radio. I have another guest today. You know how we always talk about energy work and the importance of keeping the energy clear and so on and so forth? Well, today we have an energy practitioner here who specializes in removing energetic blocks and obstacles and dealing with the energy field. So this is really, I think you're really going to enjoy this guest and this conversation. So Cindy Bentley, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Josh. I'm so happy to be here with everyone that's listening.
We're glad to have you here.
Thank you.
For those who don't know who you are, why don't we just start with the basic introductions of who you are?
Sure.
And what you do.
Sure. Well, first, I'm a registered nurse, and I grew up in Georgia, and where you have to be really strong to overcome some of the mindsets and the thinking that of duality in the 3D world, because the 3D world is still manifesting there, as it is in many places. And I kind of lived outside of the box most of my life, having imaginary friends. But as I grew older, you know, we sometimes let go of that and try to fit into the box and fit into the rest of the world. But I've worked as a registered nurse, and I've done that for almost 37 years. But what I found is that I had some abilities to heal, and people began to come to me and asking me to help, I was like, wow. And then I had a teacher come and say there were things inside of me that she could help me find, and taught me how to clear my own energy field with dowsing. So I ended up doing 3 levels of energy work and energy apprenticeship with her, and blueprint repatterning, and how to clean all of our energy fields and bring in higher frequencies of light. And so my mission in the beginning, I thought I was just going to do that with my own soul group, which I am Syrian soul group. But what happened was God told me that everybody needed to be cleared. And so I ended up doing many people, advertised very little, and had many people come to me for clearing work. And the work that I do is very, very large, because I'm not just doing a piece of your energy. I'm clearing out all your energy bodies. And I can do that very well with divine beings that assist me. And what I do when I work remotely, I have a list of about 20 things that I do and how I clear them out. I wrote a book on how I clear these entities and negative implants and all the blockages in our energy fields. And the way I feel is that we have 4 energy bodies that are emotional, mental, physical, and spiritual, and then our etheric body. And these overlap, and in the center is our soul. And what has happened over eons of time is that we have picked up all kinds of blockages that are blocking the light of our soul. And what is supposed to happen right now is that that soul should be connecting with its higher self, and that our soul should be filled with divine light so that we can be the divine, powerful beings that we are. We can't get there with all the blockages. And so that's been my mission for the past 13 years, is to see how many people I can get clear, that they can know their soul, and that they can commune with their higher self and allow that higher self to merge. And it's a joy, the response that I've gotten from clients, how their lives have been changed, families who've sold everything and moved to Hawaii, men who've left a big business and moved to Peru, people who found the love of their life, mainly because we're working with the law of attraction. And once you get cleared of the blockages and you're filled with joy of who you are and joy in your soul, then you can connect with the light frequency and the light energy that is like you, so that you can bring to yourself fellow frequencies and for support, fellow souls that'll help support you on your way. And what's happening right now on the planet is that more of us who are clear are connecting with our soul brothers and sisters in giving great support to one another. And through that, we're finding a new level of divine love and divine frequency of love that's never been on this planet before. And part of that, there's a lot of information about how we're activating the Atlantis crystals, and one of those being the crystal indemnity that was activated to assist the planet to bring in the very highest level of love frequency in the high heart. And that's mainly my goal, is to bring more love and high heart living to every soul on this planet. And it's been an amazing journey. I left everything that I had in Atlanta, Georgia, to drive across country to build a new life in New Mexico, because the energies are clear, I can work better, and more importantly, the divine beings who work with me can have better access to my energy fields, because I'm in such a clear area here.
Okay, that makes sense.
And so I work remotely all over the world, and people call me for help and check my energy fields or help me clear out. And what I do after I clear, I get the information I need, and then I submit to them a 3-page report. I do research on everything that I could possibly find. I keep adding things that need to be cleared as I find things on myself. I add things to my clearing work. Last year I had to add the ET negative implants. 2 years before that, I found that the negative programs were in layers. So I'm a great dowser, and I'm dowsing the layers of programs within the cellular consciousness. So that was a big thing that I found, because I kept clearing programs and they kept coming back. So I found out through a great hypnotist in Atlanta that the programs at the cellular consciousness level are in layers. So I count the layers and ask that all the layers be removed. So that's been really helpful for lots of people. And then I do a genetic clearing and past life clearing. And the ET implants are very, very important for the light workers who have been blocked. If they have been in high level of service, many times the dark beings or negative beings will block the closest thing to them, which is their children or their families, trying to get them to be focused on something besides service. Anything they can do, if you're clear, then they're going to try a different way to block you. I've kind of come to that conclusion. I know some very divine light workers that have worked very hard and served very hard on the planet, and then they've got family members that need a ton of help. Are you aware of that, Josh? Do you know anyone like that?
Oh yeah, it seems like that is a lot of the case for people I know within the area of this spiritual work or healing work. There definitely does seem to be challenges with families.
Yes.
It's like they're on different pages.
Yes. And of course, we chose them before we got here. But what has happened is that, part of my reason for not moving as fast as I wanted to was because one of my children, I kept working with her, trying to get her out of a depressed state, and then I found all these negative ET implants. Somebody else found them, and then she didn't know what to do with them. So I get calls from everywhere, like, I found this. What do I do now? Because there's all these people who see. And I don't really see well unless I go into meditation, but I do feel. I'm a big empath. I know, feel, and I hear them speaking to me, but I'm not a good person for psychic work to see the past and things like that. And that's okay. We all have our gifts. So people will call me who see things and say, I'm seeing this, and what am I going to do about it? And I had a lady call 2 days ago, and she says, I'm seeing these devices that are at the base of my neck and between my shoulder blades, and I can't get them off. And so I got them off for her, and she's called me today and said, well, I found somebody else with them. Can you take them off her too? So my world is gigantically big, but it's gigantically supportive and lots of service for people, because there's not many people on the planet doing what I do. I've come to that conclusion. And so it's a wonderful service, and it's my bliss. And people have great results from this clearing, which I ask people to not forget about me. You're all better now. Send me an email. Let me know how your life has changed. And that's really beautiful.
And that's all. All right. So I'm going to leave that right there. The rest of the interview is available on the link firstcontactradio.com or below the video over at YouTube. You can listen to the whole interview. All right. Very good. Thanks to Cindy. And moving right along, I have one last story before we do our meditation for today. Atlantis found giant Sphinxes, pyramids, and Bermuda Triangle. This is an update from Terrence Aaron. Okay. Perhaps eclipsing the discoveries of Troy and King Tut's tomb is a discovery of Atlantis. Now, two daring scientists, Paul Wiesenwig and Pauline Zalsky, claim they have found it. They discovered the submerged ruins of the ancient city off the shores of Cuba. In the distant past, the region was dry land, but now only the island of Cuba remains above the water. The ancient city is 600 feet below the ocean, and the team of researchers led by Wiesenwig and Zalsky are convinced it is Atlantis, the lost city for more than 10,000 years. Okay, and here we go. It says the site at the bottom of the ocean includes several sphinx, at least 4 giant pyramids, plus other structures. There you go. Look at that image there. According to a report by Arclean of Terraforming Terra, Cuban subsea pyramid complex, the evidence points to the city being simultaneously inundated with rising waters and the land sinking into the sea. This correlates exactly with the Atlantis legend. The disaster may have occurred at the end of the last ice age, as the Arctic ice cap catastrophically melted and sent sea levels to rise quickly around the world, especially affecting the northern hemisphere. Coastlines changed, land was lost, islands, even island continents disappeared. Okay, so there's more to this article. I'm going to leave it for you to read, but very interesting on what is being found, and time will tell, and there will be more research that will come to light on this. Very good, very good. All right, that leaves us with our meditation for today, so go ahead and close your eyes. Relax. Take a deep breath. And exhale. Take another deep breath. Hold it. Exhale. Okay. I want you to contemplate the idea. Everything is energy. Everything is energy. Energy exists within us. Energy exists outside of us. Everything we experience at every moment is energy. Our body channels energy through our chakras. So the first thing we want to do is make sure all of our chakras are activated. The chakra at the bottom of the spine is red. So imagine the color red, and imagine this chakra like a magnet is drawing the energy from the earth. And as this energy enters your body, that lower chakra, you could feel your body become energized with the power of Mother Earth. And then you let that energy raise up higher. Just imagine a tube going up the middle of your spine. And when it gets to the belly button, the energy there, the color changes from red to orange. This is the chakra of the emotional body. And there the energy raises higher up to just below the rib cage. And the color yellow. This is the intellectual body. And let the energy raise higher from there to the chakra right in the heart. Right in the middle of the heart, imagine the color green. And let the energy raise higher yet, up to the throat. Imagine the color blue. This is our center of communication. Up to the third eye, and imagine the color violet. The third eye is how we see through dimensions of space and time. And finally to the crown chakra, indigo is the color. This is where the energy of the cosmos enters from the top of our head, and the light continues on into the cosmos, and as it does, it becomes bright white light. So honor your connection to all that is, all that was, and ever shall be. Feel this energy flowing down from the cosmos into you. Feel the energy from the earth flowing into you. And contemplate how you are a child of the cosmos and the earth. Feel the energy as it courses through your body. And what we want to imagine is all of this energy, this multicolored energy, blends together, and throughout your body you feel and see this white light, a combination of all of these energetic colors, an opalescent color shimmering with the colors of the chakras. Imagine as this energy goes through your body that it cleanses and purifies all of your cells. Any darkness, any doubts or fears are released. Any dark cords or negative attachments are released and cleansed as the white light within your body continues to move. And then as this light overflows from your body, it severs all dark connections. It severs all attachments to any doubts and fears. And as the light continues to shine, and we feel ourselves shining brighter, we feel lighter, we feel happier, we feel more focused. So let the subconscious mind continue to send out light into the world, to continue cleansing the darkness. And while the unconscious mind is doing that, let's bring the conscious mind back to the attention of the present moment on the count of 3. 3, coming back to the present moment, filled with confidence. 2, coming back to the present moment, filled with faith. And 1, coming back to the present moment, happy, healthy, and whole. Happy, healthy, and whole. Alright, there you go. Open your eyes. We've made it through another show, another prayer, another meditation, another day upon planet Earth. Enjoy. Just remember, we're all in this together, and we just need to keep thinking good thoughts for every one of us. I'll be back tomorrow with more news information. Check out the links. Listen to the rest of the interview. I'll be back tomorrow. Peace. I'm out of here.